Welcome to GT Content. I'm Gary. I saw a video the other day from that dude in blue on why Hondas get so much hate. There were various discussions going on in the comments section also, which were pretty interesting. I thought his examples were fair and justified. Some I disagreed with, but all those items may just be attributed to where you live. I just wanted to give you guys my perspective and experience. First off, I want to give you guys some background on myself. I grew up in Central California and had family and friends in the late 80s, 90s, and 2000s whom drove Celicas, Supras, 3000 GTs, Accords, Civics, Integras, RSXs, RX-7s, and so on. At one point, I owned a black 1992 Honda Civic Si and currently an Acura TSX. I saw many changes that happened in the car scene from the late 90s to today. I think the main reason why people hate Honda so much back in the day and maybe even today is that the car is considered an import. I understand there were other imports too, but Hondas were originally designed as a gas-saving economy car with a small displacement 4-cylinder and front-wheel drive. People just didn't see them being anything but slow and foreign. There were also various weird and performance things that were done to them also, but the bad stereotypes just stuck. The typical teenager in the 90s and even today wouldn't have much money to buy the cool car if they were trying to get into the car scene because it cost too much. So they'd most likely be influenced by their friends or the car culture that they're living in, and the trend just continues from there with other friends. But most would agree that the great thing about a 90s Honda is that it was a cheap entry-level car that could save you money at the pump, had affordable maintenance parts, lightweight, and the potential in the future for a VTEC motor swap when more funds were available. For a young teen without much money, there were more positives than negatives. Your first car is kind of like your first love. When it's bad, you break up. But when it's good, you want to continue it. So this is where the loyalty to a brand starts. But that's the problem too. Being young and inexperienced with no money, you tend to cheap out on things, and that's where you see a lot of these Hondas get all sorts of ridiculous things done to them. And that's also where the word rice is associated mostly with Honda. Not that there wasn't such a thing as domestic rice, but there were just more bad examples than good. The term has probably dwindled away because I've not heard of it for a while now and rarely see these examples nowadays. The single exhaust tip or fart can was popular with imports but mostly found on Hondas. It started because of videos like Best Motoring and magazines like Option that glamorized it. I can't read Japanese, but do remember that it was the trendy JDM thing to do. Fart cans started appearing everywhere, and mostly knockoffs of HKS, Greddy, or Pepsi, which didn't sound that good, but it didn't really matter. It was cheap, got the look, and maybe the performance. It's just that a Honda 4-cylinder with a bad exhaust system didn't sound that great, especially compared to a 6, 8, 10, or 12-cylinder. The noise could also be loud and obnoxious, but I think some people back during this time felt it looked cool, gave them power, and used it to annoy people by revving it at them, which might have added more to the I hate Honda theme. Hondas back then were mostly dressed up with these outrageously hideous colors, body kits, lighting kits, and wheels. This just didn't help the brand get the respect it wanted. It could be cool, but at the same time, you just couldn't help but to laugh at how ridiculous it looked. The Honda aftermarket picked up though, and you can find anything from accessories, interior and exterior items to performance parts. The engine importing business probably boomed around this time as tuners were looking for VTEC motors,
or if we have to, overnight parts from Japan.
Especially the almighty Type R motor. Most people in the 90s were not familiar with Honda's VTEC engines after modifications or being swapped into a Civic or CRX because the stereotype was that a performance car has 6 cylinders or more. Some got caught off guard losing after a drag race, which even made them more upset and build up this wall of denial, contributing more to the I hate Honda theme. Some just accepted and moved on. The same recipe hot rodders have been using for decades was being used for Hondas, lightweight chassis with a powerful engine. In a sense, Honda became the front-wheel drive hot rod for imports in the USA during the 90s. A separate car culture also grew out of this called the import scene, which mostly consisted, from my experience, of Hondas and a few other import brands. I remember seeing photos of Nopi on the East Coast and going to hot import nights on the West Coast. Those times were fun. There was also the street racing scene. I remember going and seeing nothing but Hondas and Acuras, especially Civics and Integras, drag racing the whole night. At best, now that I think about it, they were probably high 14s or low 15s, but it was a fun time to have with the friends and also enjoy it with everyone else. It wasn't until the Fast and the Furious where I saw a lot of people start showing up, and I hate to say, that's also when the scene kind of went away because people were doing things that they shouldn't be doing. The Honda diehard may debate with you how fast their Honda is, and if not their own, then their friend, or bring up another extreme example. They'll protect the brand no matter what, and I find it funny sometimes. I remember a conversation one time with a Honda diehard telling me that a Honda Civic is more of a track car than my GTR. I may agree if it's a track dedicated car and also depending on the type of track they're racing on, but this reference was too vague and there's really no one that owns all the cars from my perspective because I'm a car enthusiast. Sometimes you just have to acknowledge and move on. Honda does offer other cars that are not front-wheel drive, like the NSX and S2000. They're great performance cars, but there's just that much influence from the other models that these awesome machines become tainted because they're also part of the Honda brand. I think the best generations for Honda would be in the 90s. My personal favorite is the Honda Civic Hatchback or EG Civic. Anything after the early 2000s didn't really have that lightweight and powerful engine combination anymore. Oh, and also the double wishbone front suspension. The nice part though was when the KSeries engines came out and you were still able to swap them into the older chassis. That was a killer combination. Honda has now lost itself from its past with its current lineup, and true Honda enthusiasts have probably switched brands by now, maybe even hate Honda for being so loyal and them not offering anything. It also doesn't help that we now have a lot more varieties of performance cars compared to the 90s and 2000s. This is probably the best time to be a car enthusiast. Maybe Honda will have a revival with the new Honda Civic Type R that's going to be coming here in the US. I hope you enjoyed my perspective and experience on why Honda gets so much hate. Like and subscribe for more content and check out my other videos. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video.